So today we are making Grandma's Irish soda bread. I can't tell you right now what website this is from because my post-it notes are covering it, but I will put the link in the description like I always do. This recipe has a lot of big paragraphs of text, and it was kind of overwhelming me because once I start working on a recipe, I get like kind of frazzled and I kind of will like lose my place. So I decided to just read through everything and break it down into simpler notes. And I honestly think this is much easier to follow. So I'm gonna post a picture of my notes and I'll put it on Instagram too, because I think that it'll be easier for you to see it there. If you want to try this out and you're also kind of new in the kitchen, I think these notes will help you. But if you've never had Irish soda bread, it's usually pretty popular this time of year, at least where I live. The supermarkets start selling it around the beginning of March for St. Patrick's Day, and it's usually really good. It's been a while since I've had any, but I'm pretty sure we used to just kind of slice it up and maybe warm it in the toaster a little bit and then have it with some butter, and it was always really fun. So I haven't had it in a long time, and I'm excited to try making my own. And fun fact, it's called Irish soda bread because there's no yeast in it. So to get the bread to rise, we use buttermilk and we use baking soda. And that is a good segue into how we're gonna make our own buttermilk. So you could always buy it at the store, but we don't have a whole lot of use for buttermilk, so we are going to just make our own because you can do that. So we're gonna mix milk and vinegar. I have heard that you can also mix your milk with lemon juice. I think it's just a matter of getting some acid into the milk. It just gives it a similar chemical structure, I think, to buttermilk, so it probably wouldn't taste the same if you were taking a sip, but as far as the function it serves in baking and I guess in cooking, it's pretty much the same thing as actual buttermilk. So for this recipe, we want to use 1 tablespoon of vinegar, and then it says enough milk to make 1 3/4 cups of buttermilk. And I just did the math. That means we need 13.5 ounces of the milk because the tablespoon of vinegar is equivalent to half of an ounce, and 1 3/4 cups is 14 ounces. So the 13.5 ounces of this plus half an ounce of that equals 14 ounces, which equals 1 3/4 cups of buttermilk. So my measuring cup has markings for every ounce, so we're just gonna eyeball between, 13 and 14. And then really quickly, I'm gonna put the milk back in the fridge. Okay, I just zoomed in a little bit. Hopefully you can see better what I'm doing. So we're gonna put this in here. I am using this Rubbermaid container for mixing just because it's clear. I do have real mixing bowls in the house, but they're stainless steel and I figured they're probably not the best for a video. All right, we want to whisk the buttermilk with the egg. We are using 1 large egg, and I got a separate bowl to crack it in because sometimes I get shells. Like that. All right, so we're gonna whisk this together. Whisking in a square container is a very odd experience, by the way. And it certainly smells interesting with the vinegar in there. Okay, now it says set aside. And now we want to whisk together our dry ingredients. So I got another whisk. That is not the flour. This is the flour. Sugar, or the title character, if you will. And salt. And now I know it's probably not ideal that I am using a coarse salt, but this is all we have in the house, and I read that it's fine. So we're using it. So we want to whisk this together, and then we're going to cut in the butter. I don't know how long we're supposed to whisk it for, so I'm just going to do, I don't know, like 20 revolutions. Is that what you refer to a whisk as? Because these are all white things, so there's really no way for me to visually tell when they're actually mixed together, so I feel like by the time the whisk has gone around 20 times, it must be pretty homogeneous by that point. And make sure you splash some on the table, too. Change direction midway also, because that's probably going to help. And change back. And change again. And lose track of how many whisks you've actually done. Perfect. Now, I do have to re-measure my butter. I originally had measured out enough for 2 loaves of bread. I was gonna do 1 with raisins and 1 without because Billy doesn't like raisins like in stuff. He likes raisins, but not baked into baked goods. So I was gonna make a special like Billy only loaf for him to try, but then I saw that I was gonna need to mix all these things separately, and I quickly realized that trying to make 2 loaves of bread and do all of that is probably gonna overwhelm me and I'm probably gonna mess up. So I apologized to him. I told him I will pick the raisins out when it's time for the taste test, and if you like the way that the rest of the bread tastes, then I'll make you that other loaf that I wanted to make originally. But for now, we are going with raisins because as far as I know, that's like the traditional Irish soda bread. And I just feel like if we're gonna try Irish soda bread, then we gotta really try Irish soda bread. And that means we gotta use the raisins. Plus, I like the raisins. Let's just get to it. All right, so we got our little... We have the little kitchen scale that I just almost dropped. And I'm gonna quickly tear with my bowl and just measure out the butter. And by the way, if you're watching this and you're wondering why my butter is so yellow, because I do that when I watch cooking videos, it's because this is grass-fed butter. And we don't always use it. I bought it on a whim. I wanted to try it. I don't think it tastes very good. It's a little weird and it costs a lot. I know the grass-fed is supposed to be healthier, but I don't really like it, so I probably won't be buying it again. But just if you're wondering why it's so yellow, that's why. Oh, and I also want to mention this recipe calls for unsalted butter, so technically we're up because I don't have unsalted butter and I'm not someone who bakes so much that I'm gonna go out and buy separate butter for baking. I was originally planning to shoot this video much earlier today. I just kind of got sidetracked and then we got hungry and then we had dinner. So it's actually now at 10 p.m. which is so crazy. I've never shot a video this late and it feels really weird. I have baked this late at night because I like baking at night, especially if I've had a couple drinks. Anyway, my point is I had taken this butter out of the freezer and I was a little concerned about it not being ready to use because it isn't supposed to be melted when we use it. We're supposed to cut it in. That's literally what they say in the recipe. So long story short, it's had some time to soften and I think we'll be able to cut it in the way the recipe wants us to. So yay, that's a win. Now I have never cut butter in the way that they're talking about. They recommend using a pastry cutter if you have one, but of course I don't. And I don't even really have the drawer space to dedicate to something like that. But that's why we're sticking with a fork for now. So we might be kind of like winging it a little bit here, but I'm gonna try to just do my best and kind of like smash this butter in and mix it up just with my fork. Because it does say you can do that. Definitely got flour on everything just now. Table, shirt, pants, floor, you name it. They say cut in the butter until the butter is pea-sized crumbs, so pretty tiny. I do think this fork might be a sufficient tool for this. I'm like trying to get this butter evenly distributed, and I don't know if that's going to happen, but I can at least break it up. I guess it's gonna melt and then bake and like spread throughout the loaf while it's baking. So I think as long as we break it down into small enough chunks, we'll probably be okay. I'm guessing here. I've never made this before, so I really have no business saying what's going to happen until we've actually finished the recipe. All right, let's see what the next step is. Stir in the raisins. Okay, so we want a cup of raisins, and really should have bought more raisins before I started this. Okay, stir in the raisins. Got a big old raisin clump that I missed, so let's just break that up. This is so dry and crumbly. Then we want to pour in our buttermilk and egg mixture. Yay! In it goes. Try to get every last drop. That is my biggest pet peeve in cooking shows, by the way. Some of these people like waste ingredients, or they'll make dough or they'll make batter and just like not get every bit of it. They'll leave like a good amount in the bowl. That drives me crazy. Gently fold the dough together until dough is too stiff to stir. But I'm gonna use my fork here and we're gonna mix it up. All right, this is starting to look like a dough now. Let me give you guys a closer view. Hello. We're starting to get dough. And I think it's time to go in with our hands. Ooh, I am so excited. I'm just thinking about how good Irish soda bread is and how long it's been since the last time I ate it, and this is probably gonna be much better because it is so fresh and it's homemade, so I cannot wait to try this. So I'm just double checking the recipe and the ingredients. I did do everything according to what it says, and my dough is very sticky. It's very wet right now, so I'm a little bit concerned. I believe this is supposed to be a drier dough, at least I thought so, and they're calling it a crumbly dough, which to me sounds like that would be on the dry side, but I don't want to add more flour at this point because I feel like I should be sticking to what she says, and there's the problem. There's a ton of flour at the bottom of this bowl. We figured it out, guys. I don't know how I'm getting this off my hands, but don't mind me. I think we're gonna need to add a little bit more flour to this because it's just way too sticky. And we're supposed to be moving it onto a floured surface now, which I've got my parchment paper. It was taped to the table, but I kind of jostled it around, so I'd have to tape it again. But we're gonna officially say this is ready for the work surface. And then I dropped some dough on the floor. This is not coming off my hands. I really wish someone was here right now to sprinkle flour on my hands. Oh, I should have put flour on my hands before I went in the bowl. Well, I do seem to be able to scrape it off with the fork. Tell me in the comments if you've ever gotten dough stuck to your hands. This is a disaster. It's a dough-zaster. Yeah, we absolutely need to add a little bit more flour to this. I think that's the best we're gonna do. I gotta go wash my hands. I can't get this off. Okay, I'm back. And I realized that this might actually work out even better for Billy that I'm not making his special raisin-free loaf today, because I can work out all the kinks on this loaf of bread. And hopefully by the time I make his, we won't have the dough hand problem. There's a big glob of dough from where I touched the bowl. We'll grab that in a second. But first, I want to sprinkle a little bit more onto this and a little onto my parchment paper, which is where we're gonna knead the dough. And don't mind me with flour all over my arm, because I can't film and do things at the same time, apparently. It's all gonna be okay. Everything is fine. If you're not making a mess, you're probably not really cooking. We are gonna need to vacuum. I should flour my hands this time. Fool me once, shame on you, but fool me twice, and I'm a dummy. Nobody gets left behind. My table is clean, but I feel weird about putting dough directly on the table. Like, somehow that just doesn't seem sanitary to me. I don't know. This is a little neurotic, I get it, but it just feels cleaner. I'm gonna give my hands a light dusting of flour. Cover this because we don't need any more accidental spills. Okay. I feel like, do bakers like clap, or is that chalk with like weightlifters? I can't remember. In we go. Oh boy, this is sticking. Okay. And we're supposed to knead this, I think they said, for about 30 seconds, or until all the flour is moistened. If the dough is too sticky, add a little more flour. Well, we figured that out on our own, Sally. Thank you for coming in late with the suggestions. You know what? I think we've turned this dough-zaster around. Yeah. Oh yeah. We can even use a bit more flour. But I don't want to like over flour it and then have it come out like a rock. Got some crumbly bits trying to escape. Back into the ball you go, because nobody gets left behind. All right, I'm calling this done. We absolutely did this for 30 seconds. We did this for a lot more than 30 seconds, so we don't want to overdo it, but this is what it looks like. It's time to transfer this to our baking sheet, which is already prepared. I thought it was over there and it's not. It's on the stove. Let me grab it. Okay, so she says to transfer it to the baking sheet, and it says, transfer the dough using a very sharp knife, score an X into the top, bake until the bread is golden brown. She doesn't really give very clear instructions as far as like what the shape of the loaf should be, interestingly enough. I've had Irish soda bread. It was usually shaped like this. It's like almost like a disc shape. So I'm gonna leave it like that. So I'm gonna just try to make sure that it's pretty even and consistent throughout, and then we'll cut our little X. I think that's just for decorative purposes. I'm sure it doesn't really like affect the flavor or the way that it cooks, but we're gonna follow Sally's instructions. Here we go. She didn't say how big to make the X. I feel like I almost cut it into slices. All right, so now we are supposed to throw this in the oven, but I can't because I didn't preheat mine yet. So I gotta go do that now. You guys, can you see all the flour that got onto my shirt in the time that we've been making this bread? Okay, we are going to bake this for 22 minutes and then... just came out of the oven, and as you can see, it's still a little bit raw. It's had a total of 45 minutes to bake, but it's obviously not done yet, so I'm gonna put it back in for another 5 minutes. I think it probably needs 10 minutes, but I don't want to overdo it, so we'll do 5 minutes and then check it and see. So this is after another 8 minutes in the oven. I guess on camera it looks like it's cooked, but if you touch it, it's sticky to the touch, so I wouldn't consider this done yet. I'm going to give it another 6 minutes. We're back. I gave the bread another 10 minutes in the oven, and then I cut into it because it didn't look any different. I'm not getting the color that I was expecting, but I guess it's fully cooked. If you look at the bottom is cooked. I think that maybe where I went wrong is I might have made this bread too tall. I think if I do this again, I would make it flatter and thinner, and then I might get the consistency that I was expecting. It's like, I tried to cut it and it kind of broke apart. So I guess I wasn't gonna get it perfect on the first try. So we're gonna let it cool for a little while. They say to give it 10 minutes and then put it on a cooling rack to keep cooling. cooling, and once it's like warm and not hot, we can slice into it and try. We are back. The Irish soda bread did not come out the color I was expecting, and I'm really not sure it came out right at all, but Billy is gracious enough to taste it with me. So, you said you don't want butter, right?
I just want to taste it.
I took a big chunk from like the center, so we're gonna break it in half. I don't think Billy wants a lot because I know
I don't like raisins and things.
Yeah, I told him, so I guess just pick off whatever you want to taste. I would describe the texture as doughy. And I don't think it's supposed to be.
I think I should try it with butter.
That means you don't like it.
Well, I don't know. When would I just eat a bread plain like that?
Never.
How are you supposed to eat this?
With your mouth.
Just like this? Like,
you mean like as opposed to like on a sandwich?
I mean, it has raisins in it, so is it like breakfast?
It's not cake. Oh, yeah.
I don't
We
know.
would have it. My parents would have it with coffee. We have the pressure cooker going right now. It's been a long day of a lot of cooking.
Not really a fan.
I didn't
don't
think you would like
the
it.
flavor of it.
I thought you would say that.
What kind of flour is it?
Regular, all-purpose. The thing that you might not like and what affects the flavor is that there's no yeast, there's baking soda, and the buttermilk with the baking soda is what makes the bread rise. So it's gonna have a different taste from bread with yeast.
Yeah, I don't know really what the taste is.
I think
It's
it might
like
be baking soda.
it's like closer to whole wheat tasting than white bread, I guess. I don't
We
know,
did
like
get-
bitter almost.
Well, we got a pretty hard crust on the bottom, so that might be the taste that you're referring to. The raisins got a little bitter, I think, from cooking too long, but I wanted to make sure the bread was cooked all the way. My biggest piece of criticism for this recipe is that she didn't say what the dough should look like before you put it in the oven. So I'm positive that I made my dough too thick and it should have been spread out thinner. But because she didn't say like make it this thick or this tall, she didn't give any kind of information. And a lot of times I know bread recipes will say how thick the dough should be. Even for pizza dough recipes will say how thick you should roll it out to, or give, some sort of frame of reference, and I think that's where I went wrong here. But even if I had nailed it, I wasn't sure you were gonna like it because I just don't think Irish soda bread is a food that you would like.
Yeah,
anyway.
I don't know what I would eat with this. Like,
I think you just kind of eat it as toast.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we could toast it and try, but
If you don't like it fresh out of the oven, you're probably not gonna like it. And to be fair, this didn't come out perfect anyway. I'm still probably gonna eat it. Like, it cooked enough that I don't think there's raw egg in it, and I really hate wasting stuff. I don't hate the way it came out. I'm just not. I wouldn't like serve this to someone. Anyway, thanks for watching. That's why I make these recipes, so you can see what's gonna go wrong if you do it at home. This is not my recipe. This is someone else's. I don't know that person. So I would say either make your dough thinner than I made mine, or don't make this recipe and find a better one. But thank you for watching if you're still here, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one for
Bye.
tasting with me.